Last year, Jurassic World Dominion introduced us to the Quetzalcoatlus, which of course is a really cool addition. It's the first ever Azhdarchid to show up and, potentially one of the largest. In fact, I'm surprised that an addition like that in a franchise like this didn't happen sooner. And its portrayal was pretty cool in general, taking down a plane, and its design looks really cool too. It has a lot of kind of, for lack of a better term, 90s influences. It really kind of looks like something that might have been designed in the 90s, but still looks like a Quetzalcoatlus, even down to the light feathering that pterosaurs would have had. So all in all, a really cool portrayal. But in general, I think that the Quetzalcoatlus is pretty much an example of missed opportunity. Now again, that scene was great, but I just think that there is a huge overarching problem with Dominion in the fact that it kind of suffers from quantity over quality, essentially. Because you have a lot of dinosaurs and prehistoric animals in general in this film, but very few of them actually get the opportunity to shine and kind of leave an impact on the audience. And I think that that's especially true with the Quetzalcoatlus, because, it pretty much disappears as quickly as it showed up. It shows up, it destroys the plane, and then it leaves. And that's pretty much the last that we hear or see of it. Of course, there was a montage, I believe, at the beginning of the movie where there was two of them, and they had a nest set up in a city somewhere, and that could have been an opportunity for some cool sequences, but we never see more of that. In fact, the one that we see later in the Biosyn Valley could potentially be one of those anyway. But Quetzalcoatlus, I think, has the potential to be a really, iconic creature from the Jurassic franchise. I mean, just look at it. I mean, even if you look at just the world films, we have been introduced to pterosaurs before, and, the smaller ones in comparison. You had the Pteranodon and the Dimorphodon. So having a giraffe-sized Azhdarchid was definitely, a good way to go, and could potentially surprise the audience who, by this point, if they have no knowledge about dinosaurs or prehistoric life outside of the Jurassic franchise, seeing a giant pterosaur like that would definitely leave an impact. And I'm sure it has for a lot of people, but I just think that they could have utilized it a bit more than what they did. And this problem, I think, is even more exemplified when you look at Prehistoric Planet Season 2, especially in the Islands episode where you see Hatzegopteryx, a group of them chasing after some dinosaurs on the ground. Of course, Hatzegopteryx is not Quetzalcoatlus, but they are both Azhdarchids and roughly the same size, give or take. Quetzalcoatlus is probably a bit taller, but it's kind of a terrifying sequence when you think of it. These giraffe-sized predators just kind of like bounding through the tall foliage, just trying to snatch you up, and even something that has some scientific backing to it. And if you just replace those dinosaurs with humans, then you have something that really fits what the Jurassic franchise has kind of always had, which is basically a borderline thriller setting to it. And I could just kind of picture a scene now where they use the Quetzalcoatlus where they're kind of in the mainland, right? They're not in Biosyn Valley, which that's kind of a problem in and of itself. It's kind of boring that we kind of go to another kind of isolated area after we just got all of the dinosaurs off of the island. You have a lot more potential than something like that. But say the Quetzalcoatlus is out in another location. Let's say it's out in Big Rock, because we've already had Big Rock established with battle at Big Rock. It would be kind of a nice little build up to, I don't know, maybe there's some reason for the story for them to be there. And they're kind of walking around or something, and then they hear a lot of like clicking, like tapping, and it's kind of echoing through. And they don't know what it is, but they keep trudging on. And eventually it's revealed that tapping was the Quetzalcoatlus's beak. It's kind of like tapping it like this, because I really like that sound. I think that sound would sound really cool. And eventually they get to a point where it's like, oh, is that a tree? And then as they get closer, they realize it's not a tree, and the camera pans up, and then boom, it's a Quetzalcoatlus, and then it starts bounding after them, kind of running on all fours. It has the perfect potential to be terrifying and, be a standout in the Jurassic franchise. One of those things that people constantly look up clips for and always refer to when they think of the Jurassic franchise. And I think that kind of loops back to the fact that they probably should have just had fewer dinosaurs in this, at least dinosaurs that had the spotlight. Because they were in kind of a precarious situation where it's like dinosaurs are on the mainland, they are all across the globe, and I'm sure that they wanted to show that off while also having a focused narrative that was a little bit more personal for the characters. And, it's a fine line to kind of balance both of those. So, like, essentially what they did is they delegated the dinosaurs across the globe to a montage at the beginning in that news segment and a montage at the end of the film, while also featuring a few locations here and there, like Malta, and, you know, a few different sides to this kind of problem that they are currently living in. And then, of course, they had the biosyn plot as being the main one that they got to focus on. And at the same time, they wanted to have as many, it's obvious that they wanted to have as many animals in this as they possibly could. But you're constantly moving at a breakneck speed where you're just kind of like moving constantly to the next set piece to see the new animal, or, you know, see the new dinosaur, and, you know, get your little action sequence before you inevitably move on to the next one. They never actually have any time to breathe and kind of stand out on their own. This is something that I've really kind of noticed after revisiting Jurassic Park, because of course it's the 30th anniversary, so I've been making a little bit of content on that. And one of the things that that movie did so well is letting the animals shine, because there's really not a lot of animals in the first Jurassic Park, but the first Jurassic Park has some of the most iconic moments in it ever, of course, with its dinosaurs. That's because, well, yes, you didn't get that many dinosaurs. Each one had a spotlight, except for the Parasaurolophuses. They were over on the lake. But for the most part, you got a moment to let that dinosaur kind of get embedded into your mind. Like, you had a full animatronic Triceratops that you spent enough time with. You had the Dilophosaurus chasing after Nedry, the Tyrannosaurus Rex breakout, the Velociraptor kitchen scene, the Brachiosaurus introduction. I could probably go on and on with this. Each dinosaur, when it was on screen, was incredible, and, you know, you got to spend a little bit more time with it, and so that's one of the biggest reasons why it was so incredible. And while there's some of that in Dominion and the newer movies, but for the most part, you're just kind of moving really fast. I mean, you had the Therizinosaurus scene, which was done really well and was a standout for the fans. The Pyroraptor one was pretty decent, though there are, of course, some issues with that. The Malta scene as a whole was pretty fun. And the Dimetrodons are other ones that I kind of wish had some more time to shine, because I really like their sequence. I mean, you know, their designs are in no way accurate, but it was still a really fun sequence. In essence, I think that this is something that future Jurassic franchises need to focus on. I think we need more of a focus on just slowing down and letting moments play out. I think that really the franchise is going to have more staying power if they start to do that a little bit more, because of course this franchise is going to continue. When and how is currently unknown. But if it does continue, I hope we see the return of some animals that just simply were kind of, you know, thrown to the side really quickly. And like Quetzalcoatlus, Dimetrodon, Pyroraptor, Therizinosaurus, I hope we get to see them a little bit more, and that they get to take the spotlight more than they did previously. But what do you guys think? Do you think that moments like this are kind of wasted potential for these animals, or do you like the more breakneck, faster pace for this franchise? Basically, what do you prefer? Fast pace or slow moving with dinosaurs to get the spotlight? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have an awesome day.